This is Infection, the survival podcast, recorded live on Tuesday, May 8th, 2018, episode 173. Well, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you so much for joining me here for another episode of Infection, the survival podcast. Infection is your source for the latest information on survival video games. We bring you the latest news, reviews, updates, and more each and every week. My name is Nick Craig. You can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. And, of course, visit our website, infectionpodcast.com. Joining me as he does from the great state of Idaho, Brian with an I, Aldrich. Hey, Brian, how are you?
I am doing well. Been staying busy this week with our Arma server, so we'll probably talk about that here a little bit later in the show.
Foreshadow.
Yeah, and then just been doing school, and it's been beautiful weather. Boise is just perfect right now.
It is. It's very nice
more
here.
More perfect than usual, as I tell you.
More perfecter.
It's perfecter today than usual. But yeah, it's just been trying to go outside. I was supposed to play hockey again this past weekend, and they canceled it again. So I'm starting up a gym membership this week. It just frustrates me.
Gym memberships are scams.
Not if you use them.
Well, yeah.
They're scams for most people who don't sit there and actually use the gym membership.
Yeah, well, see, you're in a little bit of a different situation. You go to school at home. You and you obviously you're still doing some work, but that you can do most of that at home. I think you're in a little bit, which actually may not be the best thing because you're not in such a strict time going to and from work. That's my biggest problem.
What I'll do is set specific days that I go. So for me, it'd probably be Mondays, maybe Thursdays and Saturdays.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if I'll set those days and then I'll just go to a certain time. And if my wife wants to come, along with me one of those days, she can. But what I found is if I say, all right, I'll go to the gym with you, and you tell anyone else I'm going to go to the gym with you, the other person always cancels.
Oh yeah,
guaranteed.
That's a fact.
And so I don't bother with that anymore. So I'm going to go, and if you want to come along with me, you can. But I'm going either way.
What are you going to get? Like one of those big gyms, like a Gold's Gym or something like that, or you got like a local?
No, there's one that's within 2 miles of my house.
That's good.
That's the thing. It's got to be easy, or else people come up with every excuse not to go. So
yeah,
it's within 2 miles. 24 hours.
Brian, this white door you see here. If I open up that door, I can see the gym attached to my apartment complex. I can not draw myself to go on a regular basis. It's pure procrastination. There's no excuse. I'm just saying.
Well, I used to lift, like, if you saw pictures of me when I was...
Bro, I lift?
Yeah, when I was 20-ish, right? I saw a picture of because I didn't take any pictures back then. Like, people didn't take selfies with cell phones. So there's, like, no pictures. But
go ahead and date yourself a little more.
Yeah. I mean, we had cell phones, but there was no front-facing camera, and I don't remember there being a camera on them. They were the old Nokia, old colored phones, yeah. And so what I ended up, we have one family picture from that time, and I looked and like I'm just like a total meathead, and I lifted probably every other day at least.
Well, by the end of this program, I expect a Photoshop of Brian's head on some ripped 22-year-old
it's like
body.
I'm sitting there because that's when I was playing. Like I was playing a lot of hockey. I was just I was at college, and so I would lift at college, and then I would lift on the other days too. And it was pretty ridiculous. I was 195, I think.
That's crazy. You're a tall guy. Like you are a large human being.
But that was I was 30 pounds heavier than I am now. All muscle. Well, probably more muscle because I'm not in good shape at the moment.
Wow, you're in better shape.
So, anyways, this is way off track.
Yeah, I know. What the hell are we talking about? I mean, this is like, hey, this is the health and infection, the health and wellness. You have an infection? Someone give us a call. We'll do our best.
I don't know why we're talking about gym memberships and health.
Yeah. Well, so that's good. Real quick before I'll mention this real quick. I mean, we're so dedicated with this. I should be able to pull off a damn going to the gym. I mean, we've been doing this for 173 weeks straight. It's a scuff podcast. Yeah, I mean, we're doing this for 173 weeks straight. I mean, you'd think I'd be able to, drag myself to the gym on a regular basis. So we'll see. Yeah, we got our summer calendar coming out. You can buy that to support our pack strip.
Yeah.
Infectionpodcast.com. So real quick before we get into news, I do want to quickly thank a couple of people. I want to thank our good friend Deacon. If you're ever in the Discord, you've seen Deacon. He's a very active member of our community with news and links and stuff like that throughout the week. He's a big fan of Radical Heights from all accounts.
Yeah.
He subscribed before the show, resubscribed for 3 months before the show. We want to thank him for that. And a subscription that was in, but there's an issue with Twitch's, and Brian, hopefully you can elaborate on this a little bit. There's an issue with subscribing on Twitch. We want to thank our friend Bob, UGX Vibe, for subscribing for 3 months as well. He subscribed last week, but there's some type of confirmation process that you have to do. So can you enlighten us on what the problem is here?
So I ran into this issue, and it's not very intuitive. It's a Twitch problem. But when you go and you resub, you'll notice that it says, hey, do you want to it looks like it's asking you to give a shout out, kind of a message back to the person, the channel that you're subscribing to. If you don't put a message in there, it never notifies us that you subbed. And so I don't know if it actually does sub. I don't know at what point, we see it in our actual sub list, but we never get a notification on Discord at that point. We never get a notification during the show. So just make sure that when you do a resub that you click to have it send a message to us, even if you make it blank or just say thanks or, whatever you want to say in there. Make sure you hit that, because that's when it sends the notification and makes it so that we can actually see that you did sub, because we had the exact same thing happen 2 weeks ago with Johnny. He had subscribed and it didn't show up. I think it may have shown up now, but it didn't show up for a long time for Johnny Finds. So if we didn't, I know last week we didn't say thank you, but yeah, Johnny Find also subbed as well.
Thank you, Johnny.
I don't know if he ever clicked on that to make it happen, but it did put him in our list of Twitch subscribers, I think, on Discord.
We use Streamlabs. I use Streamlabs for the pop-ups on the screen and to reference our list. So if you don't click that announce or whatever that button is, it doesn't shoot it into Streamlabs, which means we'd have to keep a running list of who is and who isn't subscribed. So we appreciate everybody for subscribing to the show. It does support, obviously, as we're saying, support the podcast. And I did this morning, Brian, finally, after I got to say this real quick. So I was using, not a sponsor, kayak.com to look for some flights. So I go into Kayak. This was Saturday night, and I'm trolling around Kayak, looking and Orbit and all the Priceline and all these other sites. So I find an incredible deal on Kayak, and it's like $360 or something round trip. And I said, wow, this is incredible, because these flights are about $500. So I go ahead and I book it, and I look, and I'd booked the wrong dates.
Perfect.
So I booked it on Delta. Luckily, they let me cancel it within 20. You get a 24-hour cancellation period, and I was able to cancel it. So I went back to Kayak, and there was some issue with when I clicked book and it shot me over to the Delta site, it changed the dates, because it's March 30, or not March. Excuse me. Thank you, Firebomb, for the cheers. Let's see what his message is here real quick. Here you go, boys.
Yep.
Thank you for that, Firebomb. We appreciate it. So I looked, I had the right dates. It's like August 31st through September 3rd. That's the dates, or 30th through the 3rd, whatever the dates are, but it had me booked in October. So I booked the wrong flights, had to cancel them, and then this morning was able to get my new flight booked. So we should now, here in the next couple of weeks, within the next 2 or 3 weeks, they will open registration. That's when we'll go ahead and apply for our media passes, and we will cross our fingers that we get accepted. Hopefully our archive from last year is enough of a resume to get that. And sooner rather than later, we'll be flying out to PAX. And if you're going to be out at PAX West, we'd love to grab something to eat, grab a drink, whatever you'd like to do. Have a little meetup. We met up with our.
So Joe better buy his ticket soon.
Yeah, he looked. It was like $6,000 in the fly or something. So
for a night. You just come over for one day.
Yeah, he actually was going to fly to your house and fly with you. So he
you can fit in my bag.
that's actually exactly what I told him. And so it'll be fun if you're hanging out there and you going to be out in that area. Maybe you just live in Seattle for the hell of it. Get in touch with us. Send us an email or tweet us. contact@infectionpodcast.com, @infectioncast on Twitter. Get in touch with us, and we'd love to do whatever. Hang out, grab something to eat, drink, whatever it may be. So
thank you, Meatman, for the Photoshop.
Oh, I need to.
People already. It's in our Discord.
But
yeah, so we do officially. We have both of our tickets.
Yep.
And we have our half payment down on our hotels.
Yep.
So like, we cannot back out now.
But yeah, I mean,
we're at the point of no return. We're at the point of we have no return policies now on any of our things.
Pray to Christ that we get our media badges. If not, we're gonna send.
We're going to Seattle doing a live show either way.
Oh, that's what we should do. Screw PAX. We'll just do our own. We'll do IRL. We could stream.
We could do IRL in Seattle. We'll just pretend like we're siding Will's. I won't say the name.
So yeah, that'll be so I guess worst case scenario, we'll just do a IRL stream in Seattle. So yeah, but that's our plan. We'll be heading out to PAX with our good friend Landgun again, and I think our friend Sean from the chat. Hopefully will be joining us there as well. All right, enough nonsense. We've been wasting enough time here. Luckily, it's a little bit of a lighter news week than most, so we've got some time to banter.
We always say that.
We'll see. Let's talk about Miscreated, Brian. So we played Miscreated for Game of the Week. It's been a long enough time since we've played it, and they've updated their UI. The launcher's a lot different. Joining the server is a lot different. It looks much more like an actual video game. There's a lot less gray, opaque boxes like to navigate through the menu. It's got a lot more polish to it. We had a group of, what would you say, 8 or so people, 9 people?
I think there was about 8 people.
8 or 9 people, and we played for about 2 hours or so. And normally, Brian, I'd inject my opinion here first, but I want to let you go ahead and give your thoughts on Miscreated as we played it for a couple hours on Friday.
All right, so I mean, I felt like we had a good time. We did run into the frustration that I think we've run into before of not having markers for your group. That's something that gets really frustrating because we'd be running around and all of a sudden we would have some random person right next to us. And it's like, hey, wait a minute, this guy isn't in our group. And there's not enough of a variation between characters that you're just trying to remember, okay, which shirt, because they're all the same character. Which shirt was this person wearing, and what hats, do people in our group have? But as far as PvP, I enjoyed the PvP we had. It's just you run into there's people that are much more well geared than you are, which is expected. Like, I'm not mad that other people put more time into it than us and are able to kill us. But the biggest frustration I had is just not being able to tell who's in your group. But other than that, I think we had a good time. It's still not in a point where I'd say because there's not real base building still. I mean, they've been improving it, but it's not polished to where you have a desire to go and grind more, unless you're just going to PvP. I mean, that's be the main aspect, I think. And as groups, it's not a great PvP game because you can't tell who is who in kind of a crazy firefight.
Yeah, and just kind of piggyback on that a little bit. We, of course, the grouping issue. Now, I understand the argument is that Miscreated is a hard. I feel like the word hardcore has been blown out of it. It doesn't really have a meaning anymore because a hardcore mode in one game is totally different than a hardcore mode in another game. But Miscreated is more of a hardcore survival game. So I understand that there's not a chevron above people's heads. But I think you run into the problem when a casual group like us just jumps in there just to kind of screw around. We're not looking to make this our second job. We're not going to be playing this every day. It makes it really, it's a very high barrier to entry. Now, luckily, I don't think we killed any of our own teammates.
I don't think so.
But it was just it was a cluster F. It was just,
for us, that second guessing, the amount of time we're taking the second guess of, oh, is that guy on our team? Like, I had one where I just hesitated for a second and he killed me instantly.
Yeah. So
and it's like, that's the frustrating part.
It's frustrating. And I guess the second part of it would be, and we experienced the same thing last time, is what do you do? The base building is extremely limited. We didn't even bother with it. As Nisco saying, a jump check. I mean, that works, but it gets to a point where it just, okay, there's just so much stuff going on. It's like jump check and did you jump? No, I didn't hear you, or whatever.
I still did the thing where I was indoors. No one can possibly see me, and I'm jumping during jump checks.
Yeah, and it's like it's just this
one of those habits.
It's just this craziness, and I understand this is how hardcore game work. I got it. I totally understand it. But there was just there was still a lack of things to do. We didn't run across a single vehicle that we could have repaired. We didn't venture the entire map, but we didn't have great luck with that.
Usually we'd see them randomly places, and I think what was happening is people are hoarding the vehicles, which is something they've got to figure out on their side. That's the problem with letting people put vehicles in a base. Is they turn around and store all the vehicles, hide all the vehicles, and then they just never spawn on the map again. So H1Z1 struggled with the exact same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you, Firebomb, cheering for saying Miscreated is the only fun Miscreated is only fun in a group. LOL, #hardcore. Thank you for that, Firebomb. Meatman is making a good point, saying the base building is okay, but it's way too tedious for the average person. I mean, you stole the words right out of my mouth there. That's exactly the point.
And there's not enough of a benefit for it. The restriction they have on storage, which, I mean, you remember us playing Ark.
Yeah.
And the amount of just stuff.
Rooms and rooms and rooms and rooms of chests.
Stuff. And the same thing, we did the exact same thing in H1Z1.
Yeah.
We would just have rooms of this one holds cloth. This one holds, I mean, the stupidest things that we probably never, we have a chest full of spark plugs.
Yes.
We have a chest full, and it's like, but it gives the people a reason to go out and do stuff. In Miscreated, there's not a single amount of store. Like, you can put one box, 2 boxes that hold 7 things, I think.
Yeah, well, and we only ever found we only ever had one in the last bit. And the last time we played, we built a base. We played for like over a week, and we played a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But we only had like 8 or 9 storage spots, and it was like, what the hell? What are we doing? Like, you can't store anything. You log off with everything that you have, or you have to. See, the problem is, and this is what makes it hard for the average player. When we play a game like 7 Days to Die, when we do that for Game of the Week, which we will whenever the hell they decide to do their next update,
which is
8 months
coming
now?
up on. Yeah, it's like 8 months.
So when we play a game like 7 Days to Die, we play it for a Friday. People wake up early Saturday morning, play all day Saturday, and then peter out Sunday night. We turn it into more than just a one-day event. And then that's pretty much it. Some the people like Heisenberg who played a lot, he'll stay active on the server, but most of the group kind of falls off. And that's what we expect to happen. But that's the biggest issue with a game like Miscreated, is if we could just be engaged for longer than a few hours, we would. But there was nothing engaging. We got killed by people we couldn't see. We were getting one-shotted from all over the place with ARs with helmets on. And it was like, well, it's not that we had a bad time. It's that I wish there was something to engage me, so I would have woken up early Saturday morning after I went to bed late Friday night, set an alarm to wake up to hop back on the server, which is something we do when we get into a game of the week that we really enjoy and that keeps us engaged for more than a day. We will absolutely play. I mean, I'll hop in Discord at 9 o'clock Eastern, and there'll be 2 or 3 people playing it still. So,
well, we could
wish there was
find
more of that.
There's the whole city up north, but every single bicycle on the map was hoarded somewhere. I didn't see a single bicycle, any kind of a vehicle. There was just nothing through the whole map. And so it wasn't like everybody, we didn't want to just say, oh, all right, everybody start running for an hour and we're going to get to the city. I mean, it just wasn't worth it. If we could have found a vehicle, we could have made, like we did the time before, we found a bus and we made a road trip and we had a lot of fun. There just wasn't opportunities for us to really have fun. I mean, we enjoyed what we could, but we couldn't make a road trip. We couldn't do any of these things just because of the restrictions and the fact that they let people hoard those vehicles and do those things. They need to have it to where you store a vehicle, it over time, just like the H1Z1 will destroy itself. It could be less than a day. Like, make everybody go out and get the vehicles every single day. At least it gets them doing something. I think what they're doing is just building a base, putting a vehicle in there, and then either not playing or whatever. They could be sitting in base, and we'd have to, if we ran that, we're on that server like we were in H1Z1, we just would be going around and destroying bases and blowing up vehicles so there were vehicle spawns every day.
Yeah, now McGrogan is saying that you can gear up in 15, 20 minutes. We didn't have an issue with gear. Everybody was, I would say, 6 of the 9 or whatever had guns, at least a gun. Some people had more than one gun. Backpack. Oh, everybody had a backpack. So there wasn't a huge gear issue. It was just, there was a huge what next issue. Once we were all geared up and we sat through that nuclear storm, which reminds me, I need to find my pictures for that. It was like, what the hell do we do now? And the answer was just get kind of picked off one by one and then go, okay, well, had a good time, everybody. We'll talk to you tomorrow. And that's what happened. So it wasn't a bad game of the week. I enjoy playing Miscreated. I think it's a fun game, but there was it's missing the hook.
It's missing that next thing.
Yeah, it's missing the hook.
The time sinks that I always talk about, that there's always got to be that one more thing I got to do. I mean, and I've always talked about WoW has it down to a mastery. There's always one more thing you could do. There's that next thing you're striving for. And the second that there's not anything else to do, like, what's the point? What with these Arma servers, I've been telling Donnie, it's like, well, make it hard rather than easy, because that will hold people's attentions longer. If you make it too easy, they do everything and they're like, okay, what do I do next? Yeah. I'm just not going to play today. But if you always make it hard enough to where there's just one more thing to do, that next thing's there, people will continue to play.
Well, and for during H1Z1 and for a while, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of what next to do. You exactly going out and getting, parts for cars and all this and all that. There was a lot of
us raiding other bases and doing all those, like hunting down other clans, just like that. There was something to do every day. Like people would log in and it's like, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
But the second, and I think where it died for us is once we had pretty much run every single clan off the server, and then it's just us sitting there and hackers, right? Yeah. And we looked around and said, all right, well, what do we do next? Like just keep battling back and forth with this hacker clan. Like there was just nothing else to do. And there was no goal. And I think that's the problem, is that's kind of where Miscreated is right now. Even if we logged in every day, what would we do?
No, I mean, nothing. Keep your vehicle that's you've got in your base, keep your base maintained.
Like I said, all you have to do is sit in the vehicle once a day and it'll stay in your base.
Oh, perfect.
So you just have one person jump in. They don't have to go anywhere with it. Just jump in the vehicle and it resets the 24-hour clock.
Yeah.
Which is silly to me.
I enjoyed it. The game is fun. If you can get it on sale, which it's part of this month's Humble Bundle, right? Isn't that's still going on? Or no, I'm sorry, that was last month's. Was that last month's bundle, or is it not even a monthly bundle? Is it just a regular?
Yeah, this is a regular. Well, let's see, I got it.
It is the CryEngine bundle. It's 6 days left on.
The CryEngine bundle is still going for 6 more days.
Yes.
So if you don't own Miscreated, grab that bundle, because we play it every once in a while, and they're putting in the storm, so there's more stuff they're going to do. So here's a little speculation. This is no inside information.
Here we go.
I mean, if anyone wants to go and hear the interview that we did with someone from the Miscreated team,
Chris Brantz.
Yeah, with Chris. I mentioned this at the time, and that's something where maybe they'll be moving to the Amazon's version of CryEngine, because that seems to work with networking, and it's been optimized to do multiplayer, which I know they've been struggling with it at Miscreated. And it seems like any of the server side and the networking code and all that stuff hasn't seemed to have gotten any kind of love in the past, year? I mean, I haven't really, they did that change where it kind of fixed it fixed the issue with using too much bandwidth and some of the storage issues, but it seems like they haven't really adjusted it too much beyond that. They've been continuing to make levels, design and doing things like that, but they haven't improved really the character movement. They haven't improved the stuff that I would consider kind of the background stuff. So I'm wondering if they are considering moving over to Lumberyard. I would say they probably get better support from Lumberyard than they will from CryEngine. Personally, I think Amazon would happily take them on as long as they're willing to meet a certain criteria of working on it. So I don't know. We'll see.
I would say that's probably the case.
Yeah, and so I'm just kind of curious if that's why we don't see anything other than stuff that would immediately port over. Maybe they're working on converting it in the back end, and that's why we're not seeing any code changes. I mean, that could be very possible. Making changes to the map and things like that, that's going to be pretty much the same thing, but the code, they may be adjusting it over to Lumberyard, which I would be all for if it fixes issues with the storage and makes it to where it's more seamless. So we'll see.
I'm trying to find my screenshots here.
Of the storm?
Yeah, just everything. I took a whole bunch of screenshots and I can't seem to figure out where the hell Steam saved them. It's frustrating.
Are they in your Steam library?
I don't have Steam open, so I'm trying to find them.
Oh.
Trying to find them outside of Steam.
Did you upload them to Steam?
Yes,
or
here they are. Let's see. Okay, so this is where they started. So
did that to trigger me?
Yeah, yes, I did actually. So this is kind of what we're doing. We built a fire in the main street here, as you can see here. Everybody's got helmets, guns. We're pretty geared up here. You can see this is what the fire looked like. Of course, somebody flipping me off. I think that was PH. And here's actually the storm, the toxic storm that we experienced. And I'll tell you, man, it was awesome. Even though it doesn't affect the game yet, how quickly it went from. Luckily, we were in an area where we weren't running through an open field because the visibility was practically non-existent. So we were fortunate that we were near a town, and we were able to just pop into a couple different buildings. But it was, it overwhelmed everything very quickly. You can see how thick
and it's moving. It's not
is.
Just a static smoke. Like it's storming. And it's pretty cool.
You can see this. I think this was more towards the end of it, but you can see how diffused the sun is. As we were kind of waiting for that to go down. Here's a body hanging from an overpass here, a bridge. And I think that's all my screenshots of this playthrough. So overall, fun. The game is beautiful. Yeah, because I was streaming it, which I'm going to start doing on the Friday night game nights now when available. I had to plan some lower settings. I had most of the stuff on medium. It looked beautiful. Reflections looked good. Water looked amazing. The smoke storm, toxic storm looked great as well. So they've got a really good base product. They just need to add the things to engage you, the things to hook you that keep you coming back and playing if you're a casual. For a hardcore miscreator, which there are plenty of people that play it hardcore, play it all the time. Those people are probably fine. But for a group like us, and there's lots of guilds that hop from game to game casually, this isn't an uncommon thing. It makes it really hard for a group to.
If we can't keep people busy for a week,
for 2 hours,
it's hard for us. I mean, but I'm saying, like, if our measurement is if we can keep people playing it for a week,
yeah, it's pretty good.
That's worth it.
Yeah.
Ark was one of those first games for us that really pulled us in. I mean, we had H1Z1, which pulled everybody in.
Yep.
But then Ark after that really pulled everyone in because there's always a dinosaur to tame. There was always more you could upgrading the base with. There was always more that you could do. So thank you, Nissan Communications, for recently subscribed. So,
yes.
Is this his first one? It doesn't say rescribe. So, well,
I'm not sure. Thank you so much, Nissan Communications, for the subscription there, and we appreciate that. I think, obviously, with Ark, we played maybe 8 weeks religiously.
Yeah.
It was about Thanksgiving to Christmas, I guess. It was right around that time frame when we got our asses handed to us. So we played that.
And PH brings up we played 7 days. We played for a while in that.
That was a solid. We got a solid, I would say, solid 4 or 5 days. That would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, lingering Monday, Tuesday. Show kind of came, went, and that was probably the end of it.
Yep.
And that's good. I mean, that's for
and that's what we asked for is having a couple of games like that where we can just have fun and do everything we can in it for that period of time. We don't have a group that's going to sit there and play for 6 months at a time.
Yeah.
So
overall, again, you can get it right now on Humble Bundle. You can use our link. Go to infectionpodcast.com/support. Click on the Humble Bundle icon. If you use our link on here, it helps us out. You can get this game for $10. It's not, not a price you're going to beat anywhere else. So that's miscreated.
And it comes with Sniper 2. And
comes with Sniper 2,
if you're
Rise.
into development and you want to play with the CryEngine, it comes with a bunch of assets as well for some games. So if you're looking to get into game development and you, for some reason, like CryEngine, there are assets in this. I mean, I've never messed with CryEngine, so I've just heard of the limitations from people like, the Miscreated team. But hey, it's worth playing around with it and see if it's something. They have training videos in there, so if you are just starting out, they have a webinar training videos that you can go in and train yourself.
Absolutely. All right. Well,
now, the Humble Bundle monthly is going to be Destiny 2 this upcoming month.
Yeah, and I unsubscribed.
Okay, I've never played either Destiny.
Yeah.
But I probably want to play on PS4, right? I mean, I would assume.
It's a controller game. It can be a PC game, but it's a controller game. So you can Destiny 2. It's unlocked. You get it for $12. And if you head on over to our website, infectionpodcast.com, click on our link here. You get it for $12. It directly supports the show. And you can play Destiny 2 which is a $60 title. Activision and Blizzard, who are now one and the same, they worked on it, and it redeems through the Battle.net launcher. Plus, some other games will be in here, I'm sure, as well. Plus, you're supporting charities. That's the whole point of Humble Bundle, which I think gets looked over sometimes. But when you buy something, it supports a show. It supports us. It obviously, some of the money is going to the developers. I think maybe they're all donated keys. I'm not sure. I think it goes a little bit to the developers. It goes to a charity, which I think we've got set as the Child Miracle Network, which is the Extra Life charity. Yep. And then the Humble Bundle takes a very small portion of that. So they really are a good organization. We're glad to be partnered with them. They do a lot of good. And obviously, who the hell doesn't like, games for very, very deep discounted prices like Destiny 2 for $12. So it's a good deal over there.
4 or 5 other games.
Yeah, exactly. Plus some other games on top of it. So that's
this coming week.
Yep.
So Friday night we are going to be doing Conan Exiles.
Yes.
And I actually have a computer here that I'll probably put a server on for it, just because I don't know what it's going to pull, or I'll just throw it on there and put it down there because I may be playing with it as another server anyways. So,
cool.
But I'll try putting Conan Exiles on there, put it down where I have the server hosted, and we'll just see how it plays.
Yeah.
Because right now I've heard there's a lot of issues with people getting onto servers at the moment with the official ones.
This has been an ongoing issue with Conan. We'll jump into that. We'll talk about it. But the Conan has actually, we could just jump into it now. We'll come back to that other topic, if you don't mind.
Yep.
So we've been talking about this. It's been no secret. We've talked with Jens Erik. He's been on the show once. He's the community manager for Funcom. We talked to him on the show once, and we also interviewed him at PAX East last year. I think I interviewed him, and both times he made it very clear to us, especially when we had our long form interview, that they were not going, because at the time when Conan was announced, we were in the era, and we still are to some extent, but we were in the thick of we're going to release a game, call it early access, get a whole bunch of money, and it's just going to sit in early access forever, aka a game like H1Z1. At the time, that's what we were comparing it to, a game that just sat there for, at this point, over 2 years, and was just in development, early access, in development, in early access, and they made it very clear up front that this game was going to come out. They were going to work on it in early access, and then release it. And, I mean, you could say what you want about the game, positive or negative, but they stood by that. And it is official now that Conan Exiles has officially left early access. And that is as of today, March 8th, 2018, it has left early access. I tweeted them earlier because our goal is to get them back on the show. We've got their contact information. I tweeted this morning, congrats to the Conan Exiles team on launch. We hope to speak to them soon. And they tweeted back, you know who to email. So we'll get them back on the show. We're not going to reach out to them right now. I can only imagine what kind of craziness they're going through. So then the next probably 2 or 3 weeks, we'll hopefully get Jens Erik back on the show, the community manager, and chat with him about what has changed, what the launch process was like. But they're in the thick of it right now. And I mean, to be frank with you, they're not gaining anything from coming on here when it's so chaotic and so crazy at their Funcom studio. I know they're working late nights over there because they're all tweeting still. So we'll get them back on. Jens has been really cool. And hopefully they're out at PAX West pimping the game now that it's out.
Yeah, maybe.
And they had the coolest... I was hoping I'd have one next to me. The coolest swag at PAX. They had comic
in the
books.
other room. Yeah, I have that comic book.
Can't seem to find mine right now, but they had these really cool. They were Black Horse comic books from Black Horse, the comic book developer, and they had the coolest swag at PAX. So hopefully they're back out there next year. It's an incredible story with them. We've talked about it in the past. Funcom was literally about to go bankrupt, and Conan Exiles sold so well in early access, it essentially saved the company. And as of right now, they're having some server issues. They don't
have enough servers out.
They don't have enough servers. Everything is full.
That's something we've seen happen. Like, we talked about this with other games. There's no win. No, there's a no-win situation because you throw too many servers out there, people will fill up those servers, and then half of them will stop playing after a couple days, and then you have tons of just dead servers. Then what do? Merge them. I've mentioned it. I really think these companies should say, here is a number of temporary servers. These ones are for launch week. They will go away. They're not going to be permanent. And I just never see any companies do this, but say these are ones so that you can experience. You could even say all of the servers are going to wipe after 2 weeks. And then we're going to get down to the number of actual servers we want to play with. But this is just the 2-week launch window. Have fun playing for the next 2 weeks, get that out of people's systems, let the people that are going to quit, and then continue on with a normal group. Arc did the exact same thing to where it's like, where do you play? Same thing with them. If they launched all these servers, people would then complain next month, oh, look at all these dead servers.
Yeah.
Nobody's playing.
It is kind of a lose-lose. I think in the case of Conan, I think they're a little short on the server count, but I understand because it's exactly what Brian is describing. You get the population evenly spreads out, and then 3/4 of it goes away, and now an active server's got 9 people playing on it. And that's just not sustainable. So, you know what? This always happens. It's happened with them in the past. Of course, with the launch.
They offer private server hosting, so it's not like it's impossible to play.
They do. I mean, you can do you can do your own dedicated server hosting, which we're going to be doing on Friday. We're going to have our own server. I don't know if they do. I think they do passwords. We'll throw a password on it so that it's just us in there. Again, we'll play for a couple of days, hopefully. Because I've loved Conan. I really enjoy the game. When we played it originally, there wasn't a whole lot to do. Now there's more content. There's more end game. Do
you mind if I talk about a little bit of what's changed from when we played it last time to now?
Do you want to show the video, or do you want to do that first? You can do either or.
I'll just run through something really quick, and then we'll do the video. Right. So the map went from 15 kilometers squared to 40 kilometers squared. So the original, I mean, if you look, there's a graphic on there. I don't know if you can kind of pull that up where it says leaving early access.
Yep.
And they show a sample of the map, but they added in a couple of new biomes. So the very lower left-hand corner of this map, that is the original one that we played on. And then they've added to the east, there's a whole new section that's pretty close to the size of the original. To the north, there's a huge section. And then to the north of that, a little bit more, there's another area that they added. So it's 15 kilometers squared to 40 kilometers squared. So a nice big map. Then you can see what they added as far as materials and things like that below. They went from having 29 harvestable resources for building things like that to 60, 20 consumables to 150, 21 building pieces to 195, 100 pieces of armor to 708, 80 weapons to 296 weapons. They went from 100 placeables to 295 placeables that you can put inside of bases, 60 animations to 245 animations for the character, 71 monsters to 183 monsters, and then 300 crafting recipes to 2,079 crafting recipes.
Insane.
So as far as stuff, like there is a lot of things that you can do in there now. And even like the dungeons, we never experienced dungeons. That's a whole nother area that they kind of done afterwards. Farming, which we did have, but world bosses, fast travel, and perks for leveling. Like there's a bunch of stuff that they added that we will now get to experience. So hopefully it has that hook you were talking about, to where we play it, it gets us that hook, because then we see, oh, there's more beyond like what in our mind is kind of set as what Conan is, to where we keep playing it for even longer. Because I think it has, like what Ark did for us, I think it is there, like stuff to do. There's a lot more there that we just have to break past that point of what we've already experienced and start finding some of the new stuff to do. So I think we may do that this week. I'm hoping that it'll be something that'll hold our attention for a whole week.
Yeah, and I said earlier that we'd put a password on. No, we're not going to put a password on. I don't know what I was talking about. Well, it'll be our name server. It'll be the Infection Podcast server. So
I mean, if we get randoms on there, I have no problem.
Yeah,
like we can handle decent. And it may be that there's so few servers up that like we'll get a lot of randoms in there, which would be cool.
So real quick though, I do want to mention something. We know for a fact that there are people that are in the gaming industry that listen to this program. For anybody that is in the gaming industry and is making an early access game, take a page out of Funcom's playbook with this infographic. This is genius, Brian. And when we get Jens on, I don't know who the hell came up with this idea, but this is genius to do these comparisons, because you can't look at these numbers and say they haven't done a damn thing in their game. I mean, Brian just read you off the numbers. You can read them all right here. This infographic is phenomenal. Yep. It's absolutely phenomenal.
It gives you an appreciation. You know, they didn't make big fanfare or every single update. I think what they're probably like what the old school development companies are. It seems like we ran into with H1Z1. It's like, oh, come see all this cool stuff we're doing. I think for them, they were like, we're continuing to work on stuff, and their goal was to get people to play the end product, the polished product, like what is done. And so I think they're hoping now they can say, hey, look, we've done all this stuff. Come check it out. You know, give us a chance. Even if you played during early access, come and see what we've done, because look, we got tons of stuff for you to do.
Yeah.
And I didn't see them constantly trying to pull people in and be like, oh, you just need to play, you know, play, give us money, give us money, give us money. Like there was none of that through the whole thing. So we'll just have to play and see how much of it shows in game for us. You know, how does it feel when we're playing?
Absolutely. So we will, that's not the right picture. So we will be playing that Friday night in our Discord. It will be our Infection game of the week, which we do each and every Friday. We've got some new people here just tuning into the program. So every Friday night as a group, we get together, we play a game. We've got a rotation of, I don't know, maybe 20 games that we play, 15 games that we play. And when new things come out, special events and stuff, we do these. So because of the launch of Conan Exiles this Friday night, we'll be playing that. How much is this game now, Brian? I guess you have to excuse my ignorance on that.
All right.
I don't have Steam open, if you could help me out with that.
Yeah. It is $39.99.
Okay. So
$39.99. And a lot of people we know already have it.
Yes.
So, but if you don't have it yet, it's $39.99.
A lot of people do. And the cool thing to also note is this game is also available on the Xbox and the PlayStation, which is games like Ark have done it, but it's still a rarity in the early access realm that a game gets taken to the next level, brought to the cross-platform. So you can check out Conan Exiles on the Xbox One, PS4, or of course PC. You can buy through Steam. I mean, I believe they're in stores. I think they're at GameStop. I could be wrong, but I thought they were at GameStop.
And what I'll plan on doing is, I think next week we'll probably be doing the Forest.
Oh, okay.
So
big update.
Depending on how much interest, what we'll do is we'll judge. Well, they're coming out of early access as well. They came out of early access. So what we may do is, with this server, we'll see if people are still playing it after a week. If so, then maybe we'll do Conan again, you know, if we can maintain people for a whole week. If not, then what we can do is roll this server and I'll just spin up the Forest on it. And then we could do the Forest for next week. But we'll play that by ear as far as how interested people are. And if they're playing, then we'll keep rolling Conan server on there. So
yes. So yeah, we're looking. They're having a whole bunch of they're having some server issues right now. Getting servers up. So they're rolling out.
I'll look at it. Maybe I'll take a server out there tomorrow. We could almost spin one up and get people playing
Yeah,
on it.
potentially. So
But by the latest, it'll be Thursday for me to get it out there.
yeah, so you can go ahead and look forward to that. Just hop on our Discord, links at infectionpodcast.com. And actually, I totally forgot. We need to play their quick video here. So
Yes.
they've got...
It's a really good video. It has talking through the whole thing.
It does. So this is probably one of the last Conan videos we're going to show on here now that they're out of early access. I don't know how many more. Obviously, they'll still be doing updates, but
Well, maybe unless they do like a DLC or some kind of
DLC. So this is Conan Exiles leaving early access launch trailer. It's about 4 minutes long. We'll roll the video. You can get the link in the show notes if you're listening to the audio podcast, and we'll be back right after that.
In the beginning, there was sand. And in the sand, Conan Exiles left footprints of epic proportions, though the road through development was long, with huge tracts of land. Now, the exiled lands have more than doubled their original size, and is no longer a mere sandbox. The Frozen North update added snowy peaks and fertile highlands, and at launch, the humid swamp and smoldering volcano are introduced. With such a large-scale world, traversing it can be time-consuming. But if you're able to find the recipe to construct the map room, you can fast travel to certain waypoints located around the world. Perhaps you'll visit Sepemeru, the relic hunter city to the west, which is now a mostly harmless trading hub where players can come to barter, or perhaps strike up a conversation with the locals over a pina colada. With a fully dynamic weather system, there is a chance you might get caught in the rain, snow, or deadly sandstorms. But if you have half a brain, you'll avoid frostbite or sunstroke by dressing appropriately for your surroundings. The world is filled with dangerous monsters and other humans, as well as challenging world bosses and deadly dungeons. These dungeons are designed to test you and reward those who show strength, intellect, and resourcefulness with items and lore you won't find anywhere else. Combat in Conan Exiles has gone from simple strikes to a grand set of combos with light and heavy attacks and unique moves for each weapon type. And with improvements to artificial intelligence, mastering your moveset and stamina is critical. These improvements also apply to the thralls you capture, making them highly effective guards for your base. Milestone bonuses have been added to perks and attributes, and players can buff their stats with war paints, potions, and armor modifications. There are now hundreds of weapons and armor pieces in the game, which are customizable through color dyes and modification kits. And there are hundreds of building blocks in different tiers and styles for you to enjoy, including crafting and cooking stations, grow beds, and decorative items for the castle of your dreams and your enemy's nightmares. To penetrate the defenses of a player's fortress, siege weapons were introduced in the form of trebuchets, which can give you the upper hand as both attacker and defender, particularly if your enemy has been able to summon an avatar to tear down your walls. With the ability for players to climb any structure or cliff face in the game, necessary defenses like siege cauldrons and crenellated walls were added. And should the enemy somehow be able to sneak their way in, there is always the option of blowing them up in your personal minefield. Defensive construction is not just against other players, as the creatures of the land also rise against you to drive you from their territories.
All right, and there it is, now available. You can purchase it on Steam through PC, Xbox, and PS4. and we look forward to playing that Friday night. I'm actually really excited to play it. It's been a very long time since we played it. But you know, my favorite part about this trailer, Funcom is they don't beat around the bush. I mean, 30 seconds into the trailer, this game is no longer an open sandbox. They are very aware of their past. They're aware that when this game launched, there was literally nothing to do. I mean, there wasn't a goddamn thing to do in the game. They're fully aware of that, and they're making a point, and that is what they're using as their pitch point. This game is no longer a sandbox. There's cities, because a lot of people's first impressions, including ours, when we actually had access to it before it even came out, was great. We built our little hut, but now what? Yep. And that was the question. And now what they've answered in that infographic and what they answered in their trailer here. So hopefully you can join us Friday night. I'm very excited to play it. We'll have a big group, and hopefully we can keep that server running for a couple days here, as a lot of people are playing, because there is, according to PH, who's I guess he's got the game open right now doing some searching, there are 0 servers with slots in the North American region. I'm wondering
if I should spin up a server tonight just to see. I might do that.
I don't know. You spin up tomorrow morning, tomorrow afternoon. We'll see what I would, even though it's having a big peak now, it'll have a big peak this weekend too, because of course of that. So join us for that. Join our Discord. If maybe we'll be playing early. I don't like doing that for game of the week because people join and it's like, you know, we're already halfway done. But join our Discord, and hopefully we'll see you for that Friday night. All right. Well, we're about an hour into the show, Brian. And I guess you want to talk a little bit about Arma and what's going on with that?
Yeah, so we have started up an Arma server, and it is running the Ravage mod, which is pretty much a survival zombie post-apocalypse type of mod. And if you're into what Just Survive was supposed to be, what you were promised with Just Survive, this is a very similar feel of what you would have expected from the end result of that game. It has AI. I mean, so one difference it has, though, is it has roaming AI, has zombies, and it's a nice big map. And so we have a private server. So if you're looking to get in there, and we're pretty much the first, we're not an official server for Ravage, but we're the first one that has been a dedicated server hosting it properly.
First dedicated public server.
Yep. And so, because I worked to get certain issues fixed, so I know that no one else was running it correctly, because I worked with the guy who created the mod to get, or actually Donnie worked with him, but I told him what was wrong. He went and fixed it. And since no one else had brought that up, I know that no one else was running it in the way they were supposed to. So we've got it up and running. There's pretty much people on there at all times.
Yep.
So it's a nicely populated server. So if you're into Arma and you're interested in playing something that is a zombie survival mod, and we're working on making it so we can have more players on it, getting it to where the performance is really good, and we're kind of upkeeping it throughout the week. So if you're into that, just go onto our Discord or onto our website. If you go into Discord, you'll see under servers. If you go onto our website, we have a tab now on the upper right that says servers.
Yep.
And that will take you to a place where you can click and launch it. Has information about it. Nick has done a nice video that tells you how to subscribe to the different mods that are required for it.
Yep.
Which is very easy to do. All you need to do is own Arma 3. So if you do own that, that's something that we will just go. We'll link to that. We can put that in the show notes as well.
We'll put it in the show notes, and I'll link to the server page here after the show this evening. So if you check out the server page, there'll be a link to the video. It's short.
And Donnie makes a point. If you see that it asks for DLC, make sure that you don't have to have the DLCs that come with the game. Those are not required for what we're doing, and all the mods that we have beyond Arma 3 are all free. So
yes, so go ahead and you can check it out on our website, or actually if you check out the Ravage mod on Steam, Donnie's got a great article. If you're really interested if you're an Arma enthusiast and you're really interested in what all is running, you can check out Donnie's post on that thread, and you can see all the stuff. If you're just a regular passerby and you're just wanting to check out the mod, you can go ahead and check out the video I made on YouTube. It's short and it's just telling you this is what it is. Pretty simple.
Yes. So that's something that I would encourage you to go check out. And Donnie, he makes a number of other mods, so definitely go check out some of the other stuff that he makes. Um, but yeah. So that's what we're up to. And if you have wondered where PUBG came from, wondered where Daisy came from, this is where it came from the Arma modding community. So you get a lot of interesting game modes and kind of things that are good ideas that then they say, oh, that's a really good idea. Let's turn that into a standalone game.
Yes. So go ahead and check that out. Links, as always, for everything that we're talking about this evening on the website, infectionpodcast.com. All right.
Yes.
From there, we don't really have any other, like big stories. Where do you want to go from here, Brian? We got a couple different directions we could travel here.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about the Forest, because the Forest actually came out of early access, and because of our crazy show that we had last week, we did not have time to really get to it. And so last week we had mentioned that it happened, but they have their 1.0 release. So they're out of early access. I mean, we have a couple of games coming out of early access right now, so it's tough for us to give them equal, like we can't do Friday night game night of both of these games. That's why we'll do one right after the other. The Forest is probably a little less time sensitive if we want, because you probably won't have, well, we had people jumping into our server, but
we did.
It's not, having other people come into your server is not a pleasant experience.
No.
There hasn't been. I'm hoping that that's a little bit different with this new release, but I have a feeling that it's not going to. So we will probably do a very private Forest server next time with a password on it and not let anyone in. But yeah, they have come to full release on this. And they have on here a number of fixes, but as far as some of the changes that you'll see in 1.0, if you play this before, lights from fire, they improve the range, so you can see those from farther away, which creates a nice kind of environment. They've adjusted the quality settings so that they should be better adapted for, and look better like in medium settings. They've just fixed a lot of issues with like repairing log cabins, caves being broken, a lot of different things. They added new items. Now they don't put in there because they don't put in what the new items are, because they don't want to do spoilers in this 1.0. But there are new things that you can do in there. They improved some of the art that's in there. They've got, just more crafting things and more it hopefully will be a much smoother experience than last time. This game has a fun map. It's not a huge map, but it's a nice looking map. The graphics are good. The biggest thing that we ran into was the multiplayer. And so they did do some improvements to multiplayer in this, but I don't know, like it would have to be quite a bit to be in comparison to something like what Arc does for multiplayer. I know that they improved performance, but I didn't see in here that, oh, now it's dedicated server friendly. I didn't see that anywhere in the notes.
Which is
they talked a huge amount about that.
Which is a huge problem, because I mean the reality of the situation is you need, for a game to survive in a multiplayer aspect, it needs to be dedicated server friendly. I mean that's the only way. I don't know why you'd even try anything else at this era, at this point in time. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And so I think with this, if I remember correctly, this was kind of a Kickstarter thing that I think they just wanted to meet their obligations of what they promised. I think they started it so long ago that there wasn't the expectations that we have now. And I think what they had promised was not really a multiplayer experience. I mean, it was a group of players experience, but the mechanics on this are so good as far as how they handle base building and everything, that you really just want it to be something you can have a bunch of players on. And so I don't know that that's actually going to happen. But we'll put it on a server. We'll get it as stable as we can. We'll play it. And I don't know this. We've always struggled just because of the issues. I'm hoping that not having people coming in trolling and just destroying, since they don't have grouping systems, there's no permission systems. Nope. What we ran into last time is people log into the server. If you let anyone else log into the server, they can destroy anything that you built, which you just get, idiots coming in and just destroying everything that you make. and so you just ban them and stuff. But that doesn't make for a nice system. It doesn't make for fun for us. So I think on this one we will do, as I said, just a private server, so we can see the experience. Um, you know, explore the caves and level up, build some cool things, and then that'll probably be the end of that, since it doesn't really have a long term. There's a story to it, so we could try to push through as much of the story as we can, because that is in there now. Um, but it will not be a thing where we're trying to encourage people to come play with us.
Yes, yeah, well, that'll be a closed group of people that we know in our Discord for that one, for sure.
Yep. But I mean, if you are interested in playing that, jump into our Discord and you'll have access to it, but it will be a private password protected server.
Yes.
But and then other than that, they had the 1.0 patch, and then they had the 1.05 patch, was just a number of fixes. And that came out, I think, today or yesterday. It came out today. So they did do a bug fix patch, and hopefully, if there are any other issues before we play it next week, if that's when it ends up happening, they'll have all that stuff fixed before then, so we can have a pretty stable experience. But that'll be the forest. They didn't put out, unlike, they could learn something from some of these other ones, but they should have put out a nice video. I mean, they've got good graphics in the game. There's nothing to be ashamed of. They should have put out a release video, but they didn't.
I'll tell you, I think Funcom gave Ark a run for their money on how they came out of early access. It really was, and it's not surprising. I mean, Funcom is not a fly-by-night operation. I mean, they're an established game development, game publishing studio. So it is nice to we live in an ecosystem of sloppiness is not the word, because I think that kind of degrades the stuff we're talking about. But we live in an environment with these games where a lot of things are half-assed. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. A lot of things are just kind of done by the seat of your pants, and that's okay. There's a lot of things good that come of that. But when your game comes out of early access, you're no longer the Kickstarter. You're just like all of those games back on my shelf here. Your game is out. It's out. It's meant to be consumed by regular players. It needs to have that kind of presentation. I'm not saying it needs to be in a case on a shelf on a PlayStation or an Xbox, but I mean, a video would have been nice.
Yeah.
So
and that, at least so you can see some of the new things. I know they want to save some stuff, but they should have made a release trailer.
Yeah, 30 seconds, 60 seconds would have been easy.
Yeah. And just saying, hey, here's some of the cool things to look forward to. Because now that we watched that Conan trailer, it's like, oh, look at all those dungeons, look at all that cool stuff.
Yeah.
They could have done some very similar things, and I think attracted more people to play it again, or attracted maybe some new purchases. So just kind of a side comment. I think they could have benefited from that.
Yeah. A lot of what we do on the show is, we compare and contrast to other games. H1Z1, for example, is obviously coming out on PlayStation. We've talked about that, and I tweeted them and asked them for some keys, and somebody tweeted back at us, and was complaining about the bashing that we do on a game like H1Z1. And when we're comparing these games, it makes it when we just showed how Funcom came out of early access. The arguable, I think that infographic is the best thing I've seen come out of I thought Friday the 13th had done a really good job with the rope map. This infographic out of Funcom is arguably the best infographic I've seen on a game coming out of it. I mean, it's perfect description of everything that they've done. And then you compare and contrast to a game like The Forest, and it's just hard. It's hard to sit here and say, "Oh no, they're doing good too." It's a compare and contrast. Learn from other games. Learn from games like Ark. I mean, Ark was I think one of the first one to make that leap out of early access, and they did it good. And Funcom did a hell of a job. And I'm not saying that The Forest is bad because they don't have a video. I mean, that's aesthetics, but it's just the reality around it. It's just different.
They put all that work into the product, and then they don't promote it, and so it's just like they could have done that. All right, so what do we want to announce the game giveaway here?
Sure, let's go ahead and do that.
We can just roll that out for the next, until the end of the show. All right. So this will be, we'll do another 60 points raffle here. So exclamation point giveaway is what we do. 60 points. All you do is have listened to the show up to this point, because we've been in here an hour. If you've been watching the whole time, that means that you have been a part of it. And I am going to be giving away a copy of Kerbal Space Program.
Oh, yeah.
This is a really fun game. Something that if you like, it's not necessarily a space sim, it's more of a physics sim. It's a space simulation sandbox physics science game is what Steam calls it. But what they do is you build a rocket ship, and then you can launch it out into space. You can make a satellite. You can make all these different things. And then you have to get out into space, and maybe you want to go and orbit the Earth. Maybe you want to go out and orbit the moon. Maybe you want to, you come up with the trajectories, and it is a lot of fun. There is a challenge to it. It's not an easy game, but if you, if you're into that kind of a game, it does have somewhat of a learning curve. The first couple of rockets that you make will probably not successfully launch. I warn you, it's just the way it works. But then once you get up there, like you can go and you can land on the moon, but then you have to actually build in to your rocket. Okay, well then how do I then launch from the moon back up and make my travel back to Earth? So you actually have to think about all of those things, build your rocket accordingly, balance it out to where it would have enough fuel or power to be able to get out of our gravity here, get off of the moon, get it back, and then land it safely on the Earth. So it is quite a learning experience. If you have kids, probably be a very good learning experience for them too. But this is a great game. I've had fun with it, and I've pulled my hair out over it too. I've blown up a lot of rockets.
I'm sure. So exclamation point giveaway in chat is how you can go ahead and do that. Now, if you're listening to this after the fact, which we know a lot of people do, you can go ahead and tune in live to enter in on these giveaways, interact in the chat, provide feedback, so on and so forth. We are here live every Tuesday evening, 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/infection podcast. You can go ahead and tune in like that. As you see, we're reading here from the chat. Have a chance to win a game giveaway and hang out with. We got a lot of good activity in chat tonight, so I want to appreciate everybody tuning in live and interacting in the chat. It makes the show. I think it makes the show a lot better when we have that that interaction. So, all right, so we're done with the forest. I know you want to have a little bit of a longer conversation about Radical Heights.
Yes.
You want to jump into that now?
Well, okay, so let's not to kind of go into this is something that we were going to mention last week.
Yep.
Not to go into your usual segment.
That's fine. This game is not in my usual segment, so you're good to go.
All right, so here's something, and I hope that I don't know if this is an indicator. It seems to be a company curse, maybe.
Okay.
But Radical Heights has lost 82% of its player base in 2 weeks.
This was 2 weeks ago. We've had this in our notes for a couple weeks here. We just have not been able to get to it because it is a little bit of a longer conversation.
Yes. So this was since launch. In the 2 weeks, they lost 82% of their player base. So they're definitely not holding on to their players. And these guys are the ones that made Lawbreakers. We talked about it before. I mean, just think of a year and 3 months ago at PAX, right? Was that when we were at PAX?
Yes,
a year
sir.
and 3 months ago? This was the big thing on the floor. This was the biggest, I think the biggest booth up there.
Yeah.
Had the prime real estate of Signs, and now Lawbreakers is no more. They had it to where they just had a couple people playing at any one time, like 9 people a lot of times. And so, yeah, here's an example. Like that's a big booth at PAX.
Huge.
Like it was that. Plus there was, I think there was
Another
stuff behind
side
it for people.
Yeah, there was double-sided, I believe. See if I can find that other picture.
Yeah. And so this was something that there was just a huge amount of hype for. I'd never played it. Some streamers were getting access to it.
I mean, check this out. I mean,
there you go.
So this is a stage. They've got teams playing. I got a little annotation tool here. They've got teams playing on the left, on the right. The team here, a whole bunch of fans. big TV, green screen, and then the other side as well. Plus, they've got the huge floating marquee, which you can see right up here at the top of the screen. So, you know, it was just a huge booth at PAX East.
Yep. This was one of the biggest. I mean, you look at over there, Alienware is dwarfed,
which is Dell
by Lawbreak.
one of the largest computer manufacturers in the world.
Yeah, and so that was one of the biggest booths that they had, and yeah, you can see if you look to the left, look behind that whole booth. You see the other Lawbreaker sign on the very right under our giveaway symbol.
Yes.
So there was more back behind there of stuff happening, and there's another giant sign. I mean, it was because if you can see, that's a big square. That thing along the top.
Yes, the marquee.
It's a giant square covering that whole area, and so it was definitely the biggest thing there. And obviously, there's something wrong happening with this company. The fact that that's what they had 1 year ago, and it doesn't exist again today.
Yeah, a lot of money down the drain, to say the least.
I mean, I don't know how much they spent on that.
Oh God,
but
a fortune. I mean, this rivaled the size of Twitch and Bethesda's booth.
Yep. And so, you know, that's the issue is, you know, they went from having a peak of what 12,500 in the first 2 days. At the time of this article, there was 2,200 people. I'd be interested to see. I don't know if we have you could look it up really quick if they have it anywhere. What they're actually doing now.
I'll grab that.
But I mean, just the fact that this is a game that people started playing, it felt cool, but I think a big issue was there was no real anti-cheat. I was watching videos. So Deacon, he points out there's 450 people playing it right now.
I see 659 on SteamDB. So somewhere in the 500 to 700 player range.
Still very underwhelming.
Yes.
For a free-to-play game.
It looks
that
like
is fairly new.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, this is a big issue. Like, what causes this? And I think a lot of it comes down to anti-cheat for me. Like, I don't want to play a game that doesn't have real anti-cheat. I go on YouTube, I see people live streaming just blatant hacking. You go in there and you see people speed hacking around in the lobby. And there's very little being done. It's the curse of the free-to-play game not being able to really prevent hackers. Hackers are able to go in and change hardware IDs, you know, spoof hardware IDs and do all these things. How do you stop these guys? There's not a real way to do it. And so that for me is very frustrating. Yeah, I'm not willing to put up with that. And I think that's the exact same thing we ran into with H1Z1. We lost our fire for H1Z1 when hackers took over. Here, hackers took over within the first, what day? I mean, 2 days.
The first game I jumped into, there were hackers,
and it just got worse and worse and worse. And so I don't know that the fact that you've got 500-ish players, 600 maybe, at this point, that just tells me they're never going to, unless they make some major changes, they're not going to be able to pull those players back. Like, the hype is there. I personally think this is going to be another one where it's just, all right, you know, I think this game is done.
Well, and I'll tell you this, we've been through, I mean, I legitimately feel like I'm a broken record saying this. I have said this so many times. First impressions in early access games are the most important thing. We have seen that with everything. Every game that has not succeeded, in most cases, they had an abysmal launch. An absolutely abysmal launch. It's a big issue with Conan. It was no surprise. I directly asked Jens Erik when we had him on the show about Conan Exiles, what do you tell somebody that tried to play your game day one and there were 0 official servers online? 0. All of your servers are down because your server host, it wasn't Funcom's fault.
That wasn't their fault.
But your server host, the one that you partnered with, was unable to handle the traffic. How do you win somebody back that just, in all intents and purposes, pissed away $20 and is never going to be interested in playing the game again? We saw it with H1Z1, the terrible, terrible, terrible first impression that people had with how broken the game was off launch. A lot of games have that. Now, fortunately, you can recover if you're a game like Ark, who they didn't have the greatest launch, but because they were so rich on features, they were able to, you know, to get it going. Same thing with PUBG. The PUBG launch, I mean, that game was a disaster when it first launched. crashing.
Yeah.
The client would crash. So it would take forever to queue in, but they fixed it, and in a somewhat in a reasonable amount of time. It wasn't long that Ark was that PUBG was in such a bad shape. So the question is, can Radical Heights turn it around? My guess is that they can't, because there's just not a big enough team.
I think people are over the early access roller coasters.
Oh, absolutely. They're done.
I think people have had enough of, oh, we're in early access. I don't want to hear the excuse. What's early access, bro? I don't want to hear
Alpha,
that.
bro.
Or it's alpha, bro. I don't want to hear that anymore, because we saw that, and you could say the same thing for Just Survive. Oh, it's early access. No excuse for performance. I think people have gotten over putting up with and excusing and kind of turning a blind eye to the way that a game is developed just because in the name of early access or alpha. And so I think that these guys, it's unfortunate for them, but I think enough people have seen the track record and say, hey, this kind of reminds me of H1Z1. I remember seeing this kind of stuff in H1Z1. They saw the end result of that, and it's like a little kid. A little kid maybe will go up and touch a hot fire or will touch a stove once,
yes.
And he doesn't know any better. But once you've done it once, you're like, I'm not going to touch that this time. And I think that they have that to fight against. The second that they start letting people fly around and aimbot and do all these things, and it doesn't seem like there's any real effort to stop it, other than, oh, we added some things to kind of prevent a little bit. People have that reaction from H1Z1 to where they're like, I don't want to go through all this again. I'm going to go play a game like Epic has Fortnite,
yeah,
which doesn't have this issue. So I think that personally will be what I just don't know that this will recover. Plus the background of the studio, I think people kind of associate it with just a flop.
Well, and you know what's so mind-boggling to me, Brian, is it has been tested time and time again that if you have a crappy launch, your game sucks. Yeah. It's not going to succeed. It's absolutely going to suck. So why do people still do it? I mean, Brian, if I was to tell you that no matter if you came on this podcast tonight, you would say something and your career would be over.
Yeah.
And you came on this podcast,
come on the podcast,
you'd be an idiot. You'd be an absolute moron. And I don't understand with these freaking early access games, why the hell can't these developers get it through their heads? Do not release before you are ready to show to the public, because nobody wants to play your broken ass game when there's Fortnite out there it's got over 3.5 million concurrent players, and PUBG that's hovering around 2.5 million concurrent players. There is so much freaking competition in the BR space right now. Why would you release something that is so abysmal? I don't understand.
Well,
it just makes no
sense. A unique twist. Like it was interesting initially, but the thing is the second that people saw, oh, there's no anti-cheat, or there's no real anti-cheat. Maybe they're detecting a few things and doing some bans, but I remember watching those live streams of those hackers, and they were like, oh, I got banned again. Here, hold on a second. Let me log into another Steam account. Oh, I'm back in. Oh, I got banned again. Let me, I'll log into another Steam account. They were back in.
Yeah.
That just shows me that there's nothing preventing hackers from doing whatever they want. All they have to do is just have, and he said on there, I've got a spreadsheet of Steam accounts.
Yeah.
For when I get banned. I just keep logging into a new one, and there's nothing that they were doing about it. Other than and the only reason he was probably getting banned so quick is he was live streaming it, had it in his name, go check me out, and was telling everybody he killed the dude who's hacking. And it still took them an hour and a half, I think, to ban him.
It's been tested and tested and tested and tested. It does not work. Do not release your crappy game before it's finished. I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it so many times. We Happy Few is another great example. They released it too freaking early. People aren't interested. But why? Why does this keep happening, Brian? I just don't get it. At what point do these...
I think there's poor decisions made at that. I mean, at that company, especially with Lawbreakers, I don't know how they dropped the ball at that one so much.
I understand following your passion and wanting to just, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to let anybody stop me. I totally understand it. But you cannot compete with Epic and Bluehole with PUBG when your game on launch is rampant with hackers. You can't compete. And then guess what? Even if you're not rampant with hackers, there's a good chance you're not going to be able to compete either, because you've got Epic, which is arguably one of the largest publishing game developing studios in the world, developing a battle royale game that everybody is losing their minds over. So even if you have a perfect game, you still might not be able to compete. So you release a literal dumpster fire, and we're surprised now that they've lost 82% of their player base. It's a joke.
Do you think? So here's a prediction. Do you think that these guys are going to pull it and then say we're going to re-release when it's more polished?
It doesn't. I don't think it matters at this point.
But I mean, do you think that's in their minds? I could see that being something that they think is a solution. We're going to pull it. We're going to get some of this stuff figured out, and then we're going to relaunch. Because they'll have a hard time pulling people back slowly. I mean, unless they come out with we did some drastic things with anti-cheat, maybe people would come back in interest. But I don't see these guys doing it. The fact that with millions and millions and millions of dollars that they threw at Lawbreakers, and they couldn't get more than 9 people playing it. I just don't know. I don't think they have the decision-making abilities in their company to do it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, that's Radical Heights. And they did come out with a patch number 2 in the past week. And one thing they added was this new gadget. So is this a Janus? I mean, is that what it's called? It's initials, Janus. Maybe it's Janus. I don't know if that's what language you speak. But Janus, it deploys this, and it temporarily shows the last location of enemies within a certain radius on your minimap. Now, does this sound familiar to you? Do you remember seeing anything like this recently?
I believe we played a game about 2 weeks ago called Darwin Project, Brian.
Yeah. They pretty much copied the exact piece from Darwin Project of how this works.
Yeah,
that's fine. I don't mind people pulling.
Because guess what? It's a great mechanic.
Yeah. And no other games are doing it. No one else was doing it besides the Darwin Project. And that's one of those things I said, I think I brought it up last week when we were talking about it. I said that's a great mechanic. Like, that really helps you in the world to be able to strategize. And it's not like it's super overpowering. It's not an ESP, but it gives them that kind of a heads up. And I think it really adds to the I guess the battlefield, or whatever you want to call it. And then they added, here's stuff that I don't really care about, but they added in a bunch of new outfits. Just ridiculous. And of any of the games, I'd rather have this one doing it, because this is the shtick and the genre that they're going for, right? It's not supposed to be realistic. They just have ridiculous 80s style outfits that you can wear. They put in bike ramps around the map so you can do jumps and things like that. They said they did performance optimizations when switching to and from, aiming down sights, so ADS. They fixed that the duos no longer disband after each match, so you don't have to sit there and re-invite every single match that person back to your group, which is a nice quality of life improvement. Also, they said people should have a higher FPS now when playing. They fixed some of the stuff with ATM interactions, so you can now queue as much money as you want to withdraw or deposit. So rather than hitting deposit, you can do it really quickly. They said they improved the server region selection. It says fixed issue where no region could be selected if pings were too high. So if you have a high ping, you could still go somewhere. It will auto detect regions with a ping below 100 milliseconds. Increase maximum allowed ping range to be a region of 220 milliseconds. They said they did updates across the world, so various collision and geo fixes. I don't know. I'm assuming they're talking about the world of inside the map, not around the Earth itself. But there was a lot of collision and geo fixes. Maybe they fixed the one because you could actually ride a bike up the wall of the world, so the sky. You get your bike, and there was people riding all the way past the Sky Dome in the game. I don't know if you saw that video.
I did, yeah.
I was assuming that's something that they fixed in this. They fixed some of the sorting with your online friends. you can spin your character around in the menu if you want to see the cool outfit that you paid money for,
The
probably.
cool outfit. Okay.
Yeah, the radical outfit.
Yeah, there you go.
We're talking about the
Radical.
Zip lines now can be grabbed at any point. This was something that I
Oh, sorry.
frustrated about.
I do like the zipline mechanic is awesome. I think Darwin Project.
Yes.
Darwin Project could totally. The Darwin Project map's a little small. I think maybe for it.
But they can have it go between 2 points, like two like cliffs.
They could. They've already got those teleporters in each of the hexagons except the middle one. But if they were to do a larger map, that would be a cool mechanic.
And I'm sure that that's something that in the future they may be up for. They'll probably make it so you can have more players, a larger map, once it really kind of takes hold with this size map.
Yeah.
But now it used to be you had to stand at a certain point. If you're aiming up at the zip line, it wouldn't let you interact with it. They did some improved animations, some audio things, of course, a lot of cosmetics. They're still tweaking the BMX bikes in there. They did adjust a lot of the damage on the weapons. So increase some damage or range for some, decrease some damage, things like that. Now, one thing they said is they said that while we can't share all the details of what we've been working on just yet, we did want to share a few things that you'll be seeing in the future updates. So what you'll be able to do is ammo splitting, ADS sensitivity slider, ADS and sprint toggle options, a new game show event. They'll be doing major changes to like the campground area, major changes around the map, new buildings, art passes across many areas. So it'll be a better looking map. So those are some of the things that they're working on. But the one thing that I really want to see in there is implementing industry level anti-cheat. The fact that that's not in there kind of makes me think that I probably won't be playing it really again unless we do it for a game of the week.
Yeah, it makes it. I mean, you're talking about like the biggest issue in the game is people cheating, and
that's not addressed, not even addressed in there. And I didn't see anything. At least H1Z1 would pretend, right? They say, oh, they'd have that copy and paste phrase at the end of every single patch notes, and continuing to work on anti-cheat. I think was something around the lines of what they would say every time. In here, I didn't see a single thing mentioning anti-cheat whatsoever through this whole patch number 2. So that's not a great sign for me. Well, I don't know. We'll see if it changes. One thing I was going to mention too, I put a link to it. We won't go in depth on this, but they did a nice write-up on some of what they call creating customization in the game, like how they're doing the topology. This is more for someone who's into game development.
It's right up your alley.
Yeah, so they talk about just some of the ways that they reduce the topology on characters, kind of showing you the difference between them. The way that some of this seems like simple stuff, but they're kind of telling the public about it, like mesh hiding. So underneath your clothes, it doesn't show skin. The way that they let you customize body parts, the way that they did the hair. They're showing you the character skeleton, just kind of the overall, and how they're doing some of these animations. So if you're kind of new to development, or you want to just see how they're doing it in this game, or you're even interested in it, we'll have a link in there. It's titled Technical Animation, Creating Customization. But you could go through that document. It has some pretty interesting things in there.
All right. Well, that's Radical Heights. It is free to play. If you're interested in checking it out, you can do so. It's on Steam. It's free. It's fun. It's just you can't play a game that doesn't have anti-cheat. You're not playing on a level playing field. And
if you like not winning, most likely. Then
well, I mean, you can go play Fortnite and PUBG and not win either. But it's just not a level playing field. And I'm going to be honest with you, the game isn't good enough for me to be able to deal with it. Like a game like if PUBG, which PUBG does have a hacker issue, people deal with it because they like the game. Radical Heights isn't that different, isn't that good of a game where it's like, oh, I'll overlook this massive issue of cheating because your game is so freaking. It's not. It's a clone. It's a Fortnite PUBG clone with some different skins. That's it. So plain and simple.
So good luck. I know Deacon still plays this, but he loves.
Here's the
He
thing.
loves self-punishment. So
I wish him luck. I want the game to succeed. I when we talked about it last week, I played it a couple times, or 2 weeks ago, I played it a couple times since Game of the Week. I really enjoyed it. I love the art style, I like the music. I love how it's just kind of a screw around, filthy casual game, but it's just not realistic to play in a longer than maybe a game or two period.
Yep. And it's Deacon saying, like, he's gotten to the final. It's not that it's impossible, but it kind of comes down to, do I have a cheater in this match? Which you probably do. And will I luck out that somebody happens to kill him before the end game? Because if not, like, there's very little you can do. I mean, I was watching people just sit there and aimbot unrestricted. Speed hack. They were doing this thing where they were laying down and like sliding like the snake across the ground to where, so you couldn't really shoot at them very easily.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like zooming all over the map while laying down so that you have a very little target to hit. And just zero restrictions. There was nothing stopping them from doing a single bit of it.
Real
and
shame.
There's nothing that they put in any of these patch notes stopping it.
Real shame.
So, all right. Well, we've brought this game up a lot. How about we talk about a little bit of H1Z1?
All right, let's do it.
Ever since the layoffs, I did look for anything about Just Survive, and there's still no update on Just Survive. I mean, personally, my feeling is Just Survive is not surviving. I am having the suspicion that it's pretty much probably going to be shut down. Now, as I said, I have no inside information. The last thing that was on Reddit was one of the remaining developers said, I put in a proposal that they're putting before the executives, I think is how he worded it. Probably trying to get funding or manpower or something to finish it. I really don't see the point. I would be very surprised if they see the point of continuing any kind of development on Just Survive. Personally, I think it's going to be done. But
yeah, and obviously
we'll see.
Got some heat on Twitter about how we are the H1Z1 bashing podcast, and my argument was, well, here is a game that has been stagnant.
Now, when we say H1Z1, we are saying Just Survive. That's in our minds. That's us.
That is H1Z1. That's where this all started. Just Survive. Stagnant for the last 6 to 8 months. They built up an entire system that included base rating like an MMO, bases that would rebuild themselves, all of this whole new way. They reinvented Just Survive. Let that fester for months. We really enjoyed it. I literally said on this show, this is the turning point for this game. If they implement what they're saying they're going to implement, this game is going to be successful. And then with the snap of a finger, it all vanishes and they go back to their old system that sucked.
And nobody played it.
And nobody played it either way. But you had months and months of development and time into how this is going to play out, how this whole thing is going to work. I mean, Brian, there are 2,700 people on the Play Just Survive subreddit subscribed. 2,700. We have more subscribers to our audio podcast than they've got subscribed to their Play Just Survive Reddit. I mean, I'm not sitting here and bashing Daybreak or bashing H1Z1. It's the reality of the situation. The game has been stagnant for months. So what am I going to sit here? Oh, it's going to be great. They fired 3/4 of their freaking staff, and I'm supposed to sit here and carry their torch? I mean, they've done nothing for this game. Nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, what am I supposed to look forward to? The current update we've got is all of the staff has been fired, and we'll see what's going to happen. Yeah. That was 8 days ago.
And and I haven't heard anything since.
Well, that's not looking good if you haven't heard anything. If we don't know, if it took 8 days to figure out what the hell was going to happen, it's probably not a good sign. I mean, that's just me. That's just my 2 cents there, but that's how I feel about it.
Well, and I mean, and that's the big issue with that game is the old game I felt was fun.
Yeah.
But they needed to, first of all, deal with hackers. I mean, it comes down to the same old song. Hackers pretty much gutted all the servers. Yep. And then after that, like, they didn't do anything big to bring people back. I mean, they made drastic changes, but then they never polished those big drastic changes enough to be like, okay, now here, come and stay. They kept just changing direction. Like they'd go one way and they'd be like, oh no, we're gonna now redo this. Okay, then they're going that way, but they never finished anything. It was always just here's part way done. Like we're gonna do so much more. We're gonna do so much more, and then they just never did more. And so I think that for them, what really killed Just Survive, which is the game that we purchased, was the fact that King of the Kill was successful. And you could say the same thing for Epic. I saw people giving a little bit of flack to Epic for having Fortnite, what probably the people that purchased Fortnite, the original one, which is not the Battle Royale version, it was not getting love.
Not at all.
And
nobody was playing it.
Yeah, and then this other one came out, but you know what? Epic is now starting to continue putting out, because they see the long game, that Fortnite may not, and I think that's the problem with Daybreak, is they never saw the long game. They never realized that would end, that this popularity would dwindle, and now they have. I don't know if you want to talk about the current players. Someone posted it. We'll give you your moment, but
that's my moment. I don't have many games to talk about. You can't steal them.
Nick will go over what the current players is for H1Z1.
It's bad.
But I think the issue is they never saw the long game. Imagine if they would have kept Just Survive and continued and got that to be something popular. All these people that kind of went over to King of the Kill would have fallen back to Just Survive.
Absolutely.
And they would have maintained some of their player base. The fact is they went all in on Just Survive, King of the Kill. And then another thing came and took that from them. Another 2 games, really.
Yeah, yes, 2 games
in a row came and took everything from them, and then they didn't leave anything in reserve. They didn't hold anything back. And all of a sudden now it's like, well, what do we have? Oh, we have nothing left. And then they had to fire 3/4 of their staff.
Which by the way sucks, because those people's lives in some cases are disheveled, to say the least.
Yeah. And so I think for them, that was poor planning.
There's no planning, Brian. I mean, poor would be an understatement.
It's called being so short-sighted.
Yes.
Money. It's like someone looking at their shoes and like, oh, there's money on the ground, and they're just keep on grabbing money until they fall off a cliff. And that's what I feel like they really did with this game, is they never looked up long enough to realize that right in front of them there's a cliff. Maybe I should watch where this is heading, because
bingo.
That was definitely, I mean, we brought it up here on the podcast. That was not maintainable. You can't bank all of your whole player base on China.
Yeah, clearly.
It just doesn't work. And I think they've been kind of the lesson learned. Other companies should really take note.
Yeah, but they won't.
They should.
I mean, Brian,
if you put all of your balls in one basket.
We just had this conversation about Radical Heights, how the companies over and over again just keep releasing games that aren't finished. I mean, I don't know what it is with the early access community. It's like nobody. Listen to the podcast. If you're interested in becoming an early access developer, listen to our backlog of episodes. We can tell you what works and what doesn't. And releasing an unfinished product and putting your entire player base into a country that, I hate to say this, isn't the U.S. and Europe, is a terrible strategy. Because you're marketing towards the U.S. and Europe and the rest of the Western world.
And the primary drive was not having good anti-cheat, was what was drawing that whole client in.
Yeah.
And so there was no way that you could fix your game. I mean, became their stupid meme that drove me crazy. Fix your game. If that's what everybody knows your game for, is saying fix your game, that's a bad sign.
It's freaking hilarious.
But the fact that if they ever did actually fix their game, they would have lost their primary client. That's not a good sign. You can't bank on that. Yeah. So they were relying on never fixing their game and leaving it open for hackers so that they could pull in the people that were bringing in all the money, which just made the game pointless for all of us. And so I think that having such short-sightedness, if they would have looked up once at the cliff coming, there would not have been all these layoffs. And it frustrates me that, you look at a company like that, I don't know who made all those poor decisions. Like, who do you point your finger at?
Upper man. It's nobody. It's upper management. There's not.
Who's that though? That's what I'm saying. There's no group of people or a couple of people that we can say it's their fault, because whose fault was it? Like, they don't tell that to us. It's just frustrating that all these people have lost their jobs because some unnamed person was very short-sighted and made bad business decisions.
Yes. So there's a little H1 H1Z1 wrap. But now you do actually have some news.
Some news. So
Yes.
this is in relation to King of the Kill,
Yep.
or now H1Z1, whatever you want to call it. They've added in arcade mode, and so they always say, the H1Z1 is a highly competitive battle royale game.
Oh yeah.
So now what they're doing is on May 4th, they had a thing called arcade mode, which unlocked a special new rule set, heavy metal. You parachute into a solo game with 100 players, so the normal of that. But then you have rocket launchers, LMGs, and makeshift armor to the loot table. So rocket launchers is something new for this.
This is cool. They did this when they did snipers and shotguns a while ago.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that game mode. I'm absolutely going to install the game to play this. This sounds like a lot of fun.
Yes. So this is something, and they did this as a weekend event. So it'll be interesting to see, but they did give rewards.
This was last weekend. Never mind. I can't even play
This is last weekend. Yeah. So that's the things. They don't give a heads up. You would think that they would announce these things a week beforehand.
Yeah, they announced it on Thursday that it was coming on Friday. I didn't even see this. Damn.
Yes, they only announce these things one day before, so you don't really get a chance to even do it, which is kind of frustrating. But what they did is they had it to where you either can get a heavy metal backpack or a heavy metal makeshift armor skin. For that, now of course they say that their crates are 75% off up until yesterday. Of course they got to do that. And then they had the top 10 challenge leaderboards final results for that. So I just wanted to mention that it happened. I don't know if they're going to be doing it again. I don't think it's going on right now.
It's not. It ended on Monday.
But I'm sure that if it was popular enough that they will do it again.
I do hope.
Probably be in the rotation.
Yeah, I hope they bring it back. I wish I wish I would have known.
When they announced it the day before,
yeah, it's tough.
What do you expect?
Yeah, so well, it looks like a lot of fun. If it was anything like snipers and shotguns, it was probably a lot of fun. From
I think that's how they'll hold the interest of players in this, is they've got to come up with that variety, because people get tired of doing the same thing over and over and over again. So I hopefully that's something they've learned from this, and make it to where you can go into kind of a random set of play modes. They've been doing these 1 week, but they should have it to where you start a game, you queue up, and it could be shotguns, it could be these rocket launchers. You don't know what you're going to get into until the game starts. So it's not the same. All right, I land here. Now I'm going to run into this zone, snipe some people. Get it to where there's that variety, to where it doesn't feel like the same repetitive gameplay.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so we got like 9 minutes left.
Yeah, we got like 9. Yeah, we started a little late, but we got probably a couple more things.
I think we should do the Rust video, because this one is actually pretty interesting. They've added some cool things into this one. Are you good with that?
Yeah. What's the title of this one here while I load up this?
All right. So this patch, or this set of update notes, is called the Compound Update. And so this will be something that in the video he discusses what the compound is. But yeah, this is a fairly big patch, and they have some new interesting area on the map that you can go to. So.
All right. So this is the compound update, of course, from our friend Shadowfrax. We'll roll the video. We'll discuss it. We'll be back right after this.
Hey, look. We have our first customer.
Ooh. I wonder what he's going to buy.
Please scan your club card to continue.
I don't have a club card.
It really feels like we're providing a valuable service to the community.
Yes, I agree. It makes me feel all warm and fuzzy on the inside.
Unexpected item in bagging area.
Wait, I haven't bought anything yet. What are you on about?
Please wait for a member of staff.
All I wanted was some wood.
Oh dear.
I guess you could say. He shopped till he dropped. Ha 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 ha.
Greetings, survivors and friends. Shadowfrax here with your regular update to the world of Rust, and this week's is monumental as far as they go, quite literally, as first of all we have a brand new one to visit and hang out at. If you follow me, then you'll have already heard a lot about it, but this week the new scientist-protected compound monument went live, a place where you can feel safe. As long as you obey the rules, of course, and these chaps don't mess about. Inside the compound, an old town that's been reappropriated by the scientists and walled off, you'll find a wealth of public facilities, but also a wealth of green peacekeeper scientists and their own rather effective turrets, enforcing a safe zone, a new feature for Rust and one that could have some interesting outcomes. Most basic facilities are present here for you to use: a refinery, tier 1 workbenches, a recycler, a water catcher, and always-on hobo barrels. There's even a chill zone, complete with barbecue and vodka. But probably the biggest draw will be the vending machines, offering a mix of essential daily items such as resources, clothing, tools, and lethal weapons. As I mentioned, the area inside and immediately outside the compound is a safe zone, but safety in Rust is of course a relative term, and firstly this means not whipping out a weapon, although accidents do happen, so you'll be given a few seconds to comply and put it away before your inevitable doom. There is however a zero tolerance policy in effect for outright acts of aggression in any form, and these will not only get you murdered but also mark you as public enemy number 1 for 5 minutes, something that persists beyond death, so you'll have to wait it out before revisiting. Other activities off limits here include sleeping, which will get you killed after 20 minutes of blissful rest, and looting, apart from your own stuff of course. Expect a lot of tweaks and changes over the next month as this monument gets tested to its limits by the player base. After all, no new features are ever idiot-proof, and Rust has an above-average supply of them, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. From the land to the sea now, and some other big changes making a splash this month, see gameplay being extended out into and indeed below the ocean. You'll likely have already heard me talking about the scuba gear, a 4-piece set that you'll now be able to find stashed in crates around the island. The mask lets you see clearly underwater and can be worn with some hats. The tank gives you 10 minutes of dive time and can be refilled at a workbench. Fins turn you into Aquaman in the water, but Pingu on land. And the wetsuit keeps you dry. Somehow. But more importantly, keeps your bits cozy even in the coldest of liquids. All of this would of course be frivolous without something interesting to see down there. Unfortunately, the ocean floor is now littered with crap. Dive sites and sunken wrecks abound, and the latter can be easily located by keeping your eyes peeled for bottles that float above them at the surface. Down below, you'll find a lot of crates attached to the floor, somehow, which when untied will float to the surface, ready for looting. And there's a lot to see down there now in the way of rock formations and foliage, although this art is only temporary and will receive an almighty polish over the next few weeks. As mentioned last episode, the long-awaited feature of first-person clothing has finally arrived this month, and although it still needs a touch-up here and there, it's completely functional and includes full support for your skins. A word from Facepunch on hacking now in the dev blog, one of your favourite things to talk about obviously, and yes, cheating has been rife for a long while, it's no secret, but what's being done about it? Well, although this sort of thing will never be stamped out completely, thanks to some new server-side prevention this month, a list of previously possible hacks should now no longer be possible, and the team are talking to EAC to see what else can be done on their side to help, so hopefully we'll hear more good news on this later on in the month. Building exploits were also targeted in this update, and a few that should no longer be available include doorless roof bases and fanned wall stacking. Some false positives from the previous iteration should also have been reversed. AI became a bit more complex, with compound scientists in particular now being able to follow patrol paths, look at you inquisitively when you get close enough, and search for targets that are trying to hide from them. And some optimizations to CPU side rendering this month should hopefully give a boost to low to mid-range processors. Graphically, underwater renderings being looked at, seeing as how you'll actually be wanting to venture down where it's wetter now, and one important change already is how the surface looks from underneath. It's actually more reflective now, as it should be, and this could restrict your awareness of what's going on at the surface, but sometimes you just have to look reality in the face and lick it. A new, faster and better ambient occlusion system was implemented. This feature approximates illumination and shadowing, and as you can see here, shadows where objects meet the ground are particularly improved and no longer make them look like they're hovering. Apart from all these changes, there were improvements to boat and chainsaw sounds, a new facial hairstyle, a bug that kept AI dormancy from being enabled by default was fixed, and high external walls and gates will decay a lot faster when placed outside tool cupboard range. You can find the full list of changes on the dev blog, and a link will be in the description, but please leave me a comment and let me know what you thought to this month's patch. Spank the like and subscribe buttons, and please join me over on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, and my Steam group. I will of course catch you all soon, but in the meantime, keep calm and stay rusty. Cheerio.
All right, and of course, as always, we thank our friend Shadowfrax for providing those. Well, they used to be weekly update Rust update videos. Now
He still seems to be keeping pretty close to that. Though.
he does them weekly.
Now
Now they're more larger concepts, as Rust is not doing the same weekly updates every week. But nevertheless we thank him for providing that stuff. We really do appreciate it. All right, Brian, we're near the end of the program here. So, anything else you want to quickly mention before?
So I was going to mention. All right, so Next Day Survival, if you're into that game, came out with a patch, but it's just a lot of fixes. Not worth really mentioning them. It's not like, oh, here's a new section of the map or anything. But check that out. We'll have a link to it in our show notes. Let's see. I know that Darwin Project came out with another patch this past week. So they did some extra. They updated some of the powers and did improvements to some of the like the Blood Moon and things like that. Fixed a number of bugs in there. So if you're playing that, you should notice those in game now. PUBG. Let's mention PUBG really quick.
Totally forgot about PUBG.
Outside of that, there is Hurt World came out with a number of patches. Check that out. The Black Death came out with a pretty big patch. You can check that out. But PUBG, they came out with 3 things. One was a new event mode, war mode called Desert Nights.
Mm-hmm.
They said they prematurely had to end the update as they found to be the cause of server instability.
It's crashing.
So they're working on that issue. Yeah, it's crashing all the servers. So that was stopped. But all players are grouped into teams of 5, each one with maximum, 50 players, up to 10 full teams. Immediately after the plane gets in the air, the safe zone is visibly on the map. Kills are +3 points. Knockouts are +1 point. Own team kills, sorry, Joe, is -5 points. If no team reaches 200 points before the 15 minutes time limits, the team with the highest score is declared the winner. And you get a random care package of an AWM, M24, MK14, M249, Graza, or AUG, a level 3 vest, a level 3 helmet, and 2 grenades. So would have been pretty interesting. I'm wondering if they'll bring that back because that was supposed to go through the 6th.
Yep. Typical weekend.
But as I said, yeah, they ended it early. So whatever the cause of that is, I'm sure they'll fix it and they'll probably redo that one. So I don't know. We'll see. It's kind of interesting that happened, but that's what happened. Now, one other thing that they're disabled was item trades. That was things that now this year the personal item trades on Steam. I think because they said that was being taken advantage of by some websites. So, because you got to think these companies are making a lot of their money off of these Steam trades. They get these skins, and if they can get trades happening in the Steam marketplace, they can use that, get some money from those legitimate trades in Steam. So these websites have external auction houses and things like that are happening. And then they use this personal trade system so that the developer and Steam don't get a cut of that money. And only the website is getting a cut of that money. So that is something that they're trying to fix. And so right now they have disabled the personal trade system temporarily. And then as soon as they figure out a way to prevent websites from abusing that feature, they will turn it back on.
Yep.
And then you want to go over this last one or you want me to cover it?
This is the codename Savage.
Codename Savage.
Yes. So this is the map we've talked about. This is it Far Cry 3 style
type
looking
field
map? The kind of
over in Asia somewhere.
Asia kind of rainforest-y hut map. And it's coming back to the test server now with a new name.
Official name, probably.
An official name, yes. So that's it's back. It's
so now it's called Sandhawk.
Sandhawk,
right?
Yes, is its name.
So or Sandhook. Sorry, Sandhook.
Sandhook.
That sounds remotely close to Sandy Hook. So I don't know if that's a good name for this.
I don't know. And it's It's starting May 10th, so this Thursday, and it will be ending on Monday, May 14th. So a typical weekend-ish event for Bluehole here with PUBG. So
Yeah. So
Sandhook.
so that should be the official name going. They did say, code name Savage, because that was a temporary name. That was something that wasn't expected to be permanent. And so now, going forward, you should see this new Sandhook as the new name for this.
Yep.
And the second place, they said that the inspiration behind this is they had carried a hodgepodge combination of two words. So the first was Sandhook, which is fun. And then the second is the Filipino word for chicken, which is manhawk. So maybe it's Sandhawk. So it is probably Sandhawk.
Sandhook.
So Sawhook is fun. Chicken is Mahnok. So the two of those together, fun chicken, is Sandhawk.
I stay away from pronunciations specifically because they
Probably safer that
it just doesn't make it. It's like what am I reading here? So they're doing a limited test run server, a couple days over the weekend. If you got some free time, install now. Clear, this is not the this is going to be the experimental server.
Yes.
I think it says we're turning the closed experimental server into experimental server. So I think it's going to be the experimental server.
Well, but I think that map in general. So we are turning that into the. But I think they're just now going to put that map on the experimental.
Okay.
But I think going forward that it will no longer be called Savage.
Gotcha. So
it will be called Sandhawk.
So it's not on the test; it's on the experimental still.
Yep.
Okay, so that's what we think. It's not doesn't make the most sense, but it's on the experimental. So you have to download the experimental version. It's experimental server, not the test server. So you can do that. Yes. Hop in this weekend, Thursday through Monday. It's open. You can go ahead and play that.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for news. And, of course, as always, we've got everybody's favorite segment of the show, and that is current players. All right. Well, Brian asked for it. You shall receive. Currently playing H1Z1, Just Survive. 543 is people are currently playing that. The 24-hour peak 862 with a 7-day peak of 1047. So not looking very hot on the Just Survive front here if you're looking at saving the game if they're having those meetings. Moving on, H1Z1 King of the Kill currently playing 2,543. The 24-hour peak 6,186 with a 7-day peak of 10,223. Moving on over to Ark Survival Evolved, currently playing 24,679. The 24-hour peak, 37,893, and 48,973 is your 7-day peak. Now, moving down, Conan Exiles. Launched today, of course, a player boost. Currently playing 20,662. That might explain the server issues. The 24-hour peak, 28,748, with a 7-day peak of the same number, 28,748. Moving on over to PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Currently playing 270,843. Your 24-hour peak, 1.8 million. And your 7-day peak, 2,179,344. And that is going to do it for current players. And we'll keep an eye on those Conan numbers. Of course, as you'd expect, with a lot them releasing, wiping all the servers, there's going to be this bump in the current player stat. But I would imagine as the weeks go on, this will probably go back down. But we'll keep an eye on it. We'll see what happens.
Yep. Very good. All right. So are we ready for tip of the week?
Yes, sir.
All right. Tip of the week. So we go through, and either it's a general gaming tip or for a specific game. Since I've been playing a lot of Arma 3 this week, it will be on Arma 3. So this is tip of the week. All right. So in Arma 3, one of the first things that I found was the head bob that's in there can be very disorienting. Um, I was actually getting to the point where I was feeling dizzy and nauseous. And luckily in the game, you have the ability to nearly disable that totally. I was playing the whole first day and I was just like, I feel really sick. And I found this setting, and it's a head bob setting in settings. Drag it all the way to the bottom, because if you're playing, especially in first person mode, if you're playing in first person, it will make you feel like you're going to puke. Now, also one thing I find in these games is you can also, disable things like blur and bloom and all these other things. And you may find that helps a little bit with some of the motion, but also it will help your frame rates. Those are things that will lower your frame rates with them on. So if you want to go in the settings, try disabling, motion blur, bloom. Just try some of those different things that are supposed to be cosmetic updates, but a lot of times they just kind of cause a weird, trick on your eyes. Also, another thing that's really helpful in this game is if you're not playing in first person and you're playing in third person, they have free look. That's something that I used a lot in H1Z1, and when I'd be streaming live, people would ask me, how are you doing that? You can hold down Alt and then spin your camera around your player. But one nice thing about this one is if you double click that, you double tap Alt, they'll actually lock into that camera mode. So maybe you'll be holding forward and then you can kind of swing the camera around without having to hold down the Alt key while you're doing that. So hopefully those are some things that'll help you. For me, the head bob thing was one of the biggest changes that helped me, because I was like, I don't know that I can keep playing this game if I feel this way after every time I play it. So definitely turn that one down first. But that is tip of the week. And also one thing I want to mention is if you are interested in playing Arma, go to our YouTube channel.
Oh.
And Nick made a really nice video that goes through and explains how you can get the mods installed and how you can connect into our server. It's very easy to do, and it's a nice little video that's up for that. And it just takes you through step by step as if you had never installed any of these mods before and you're connecting for the first time.
Yes.
So that's one of our last videos posted, but I think it's titled something about Arma 3.
And Firebomb is haggling you for your tip, saying we need a better tip. B. So
and this is an open world survival game.
Don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just reporting what the people are saying. So we do thank Firebomb here for a couple of bits and during the broadcast, as well as our friend Bob UGX Vibe for subscribing, Nissan Communications. And I know I'm missing somebody, and I don't want to. And of course, our friend Deacon, who subscribed right before the program started. So I want to thank all those people for subscribing on Twitch. And if you do have your Twitch Prime set up, we'd love to have your subscription. You can go ahead and click the subscribe with Twitch Prime button, and it really does help the show with that. If you don't want to do that, maybe you're subscribing to other channels, there is a couple of other ways you can support the program. You can head on over to our website, infectionpodcast.com/support, and you can see over here a couple different ways you can do so. As we've been talking about, Humble Bundle, you can buy games through there, the CryEngine Bundle, the Humble Bundle with Destiny, you can do all that over here. Once you click on our link, it helps support us, the program, charities. In our case, we were supporting the Children's Miracle Network and the Humble Bundle themselves. So really cool way for you to support the program and get games at a discounted price. infectionpodcast.com/support. What are you giggling about, Brian? I can see on my preview screen laughing. What's going on?
I just reading our chat. Oh yeah, they're giving me a hard time for talking about Arma.
Yeah,
they said that my tip was too long.
Oh so. Lord,
this is the normal everyday way that I do.
Brian, it was perfect. I really enjoyed it.
And I gave a plug for Nick's wonderful video.
It was a guy. You know what? The first thing I thought of yesterday, because here's the problem with mods, and real quick, I know we got to go, but we were talking about mods. A lot of this stuff is complicated, and if it's complicated, it doesn't get the user base. So thought I'd make the video and just show that you don't. Because what I did, because I was uninformed on the situation, is I went to the Steam Workshop and tried to find all the individual mods, and it was a huge pain. And then I was told, hey, all you got to do is launch the game and it'll find the mods automatically and install them. So that's why I made the video.
Well, and that's the thing is the Ravage mod that we're running up until last week, it was only, you had to manually go download it and do all these steps. And that's just too much for your average person.
It's not worth
They
it.
will not do it. And right as we were setting up this server that day, he released that mod for the first time under the workshop. And I was like, oh, this is great. So that's why I it was very seamless at that point, be able to pick up people. If someone wants to play it, very easy to get in there now. So very good.
Alrighty, well, let's do our quick game giveaway here, Brian. We're rolling for Kerbal Space Program.
Excellent game. So sorry if people did get a chance to enter for this, but it is a wonderful game. Locklure 97. So Locklure, congratulations. I think they took out the Steam or the messaging system in here. So I will probably send it to you on Discord.
Okay.
Because I think they were disabling the messaging system that I usually use. So I've been sending this to people on Discord.
You can whisper to them, I think, too.
Yeah, they have to be in right now. So maybe maybe I'll try that. I'll message him and say, hey, are you there? And if he is, then I'll send it to him.
All right. So where can people find you on the interwebs?
Yes, if you want to find me at Boise Computer on Twitter, of course, you can go check out my blog, biteoftech.com. Also, make sure you go to our website. If you're looking to play any of the games that we talk about, you want to find a group to play with them with, make sure you just go to our website, click on the right-hand side, join server. It's a green button that'll take you to our Discord server. It's a free program to use, very lightweight on the desktop. It's a nice, easy to use mobile app as well. And also we have our Steam group. If you want to get notifications of when the live show is about to start, just join that. Sometimes we'll send out a notification right before Game of the Week. And then we send out a notification right before we go live on Tuesdays. And that'll help you, maybe if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I'd like to be able to enter for some of these games. If you can catch us live, it's really easy to enter into these game giveaways. And just, and also make sure, if there's somewhere that you usually listen to us or watch us and we're not there, make sure you let us know so that we can always make sure that we're available. But if you notice for some reason that we're not listed on your favorite app, whatever it is you use to maybe listen to podcasts, let us know and send an email to contact@infectionpodcast.com or go to the website and there's a contact form on there and we will see if we can get that fixed.
Absolutely. Brian, thank you very much. And within the next couple of weeks here, we're going to announce our PAX donation drive to get us out there. So we'll be announcing that here hopefully within the next couple of weeks or so. Once we get all the details on that finalized, we'll be out there. I'm confirming equipment and stuff right now that we're going to be traveling with so that we can, as we did last year, record some videos of the publishers that interest you. That's a cool thing that I think makes us different compared to what you're going to get from IGN or PC Gamer or any of these other larger publications, is because the survival genre and in this case the BR genre is so hot right now. Hopefully there'll be there'll be some smaller games there. Case in point, last year the Darwin Project that nobody cared about. They were stuck in the little corner. They had the smallest booth possible, and we saw and said, "Holy crap! This is right up our alley." And lo and behold, it gets picked up and gets a lot of national attention. National attention in terms of video game publications writing about it. So we're hoping we can bring you maybe another sleeper this year. We had Darwin Project was our sleeper last year. Maybe we can go 2 for 2 on sleepers from PAX. So we'll do that. We'll announce that here in the next couple of weeks. Brian, thank you so much, and we'll see you Friday night again. Conan Exiles will have our own server. All the information on our website, infectionpodcast.com. Join our Discord server. You can find all that information there. If it goes up early or whatever, we'll announce it there and probably on Twitter as well. So stay tuned to our channels for stuff like that. Well, alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it. Of course, you can visit our website, infectionpodcast.com, for full show notes. Anything that you missed on this episode, you can follow me on Twitter at Nicholas M. Craig. That's going to do it. We'll see you next week. Have a great week, everybody.